Hello, my name is Takara Cannon, and I am a graduate student with Liberty University, studying a Master's of Public Health and concentration in health promotion. I chose to do my practicum with Sunrise Children's Foundation, and on the next slide, I will be introducing you to Sunrise Children's Foundation and what they do. So the foundation is a nonprofit organization, and they provide early childhood development services along with child care, nutritional, and health services to low-income families or other families that qualify for the program in some other way, such as families with disabled children or in foster care or experiencing homelessness. The Early Head Start program is one of the many programs that are provided by the foundation, and this is where my practicum was concentrated in. So if we go on to the next slide, we talk about my practicum purpose and the design. The purpose of the practicum was to do a community needs assessment for the Early Head Start program. The community needs assessment is required by grants to get grants. So this coming year, the program is applying for a grant renewal, and it was needed to do a community needs assessment in order to make sure that the services were still needed, where the community is lacking in services, and in how Sunrise Children's Foundation is at the current moment helping with the needs. And so there were also a few other tasks to help the foundation identify community resources in the local areas, and also analysis of accident and illness reports. Accident and illness reports are very important because with each illness or bite or scratch that happens in the centers, there is a accident or illness report, and any child that's ill has to see a doctor, and especially if they're out for 3 days, and they have to come back with the doctor's note saying that they have been seen. So since the foundation is already helping low-income families, it's most likely that they also experience difficulty with accessing health care. So accessibility to health care is one of the main concerns for the community needs assessment. On the next slide, we'll talk about how I accomplished those tasks. How I accomplished those tasks and what was done about them. So I was able to get some required information that was outlined in the Head Start performance standards that's given to any Head Start program. These performance standards are strictly written, and community needs assessment is one of those criteria. So it was important for the community needs assessment to talk about the demographics of the area that's serviced. And Sunrise Children's Foundation serves all of Clark County, no matter what zip code a person lives in. They service all of the county. And according to the 2010 census, there are over 80,000 children aged birth to 3 years old just in Clark County itself. And so it was good to see that information and see that the county is still growing, even after the first community needs assessment when the program was written years ago. I was also able to provide resource guides. So what I did for the resource guide in identifying health resources, I created a map that will show within 10 miles of two of the largest center-based learning centers. I showed how many health services and how many dental services were around those areas. Most likely you're thinking of people who find ways just to take their child to these centers, so it's important that they find health services that are close to places that they're already going and not out of their way. And so later on I can show you an example of how I accomplished making that visual aid. So we also analyzed accident and illness reports, and this was a task that wasn't initially written as part of the project. Even though it was a task that I knew I would be doing as part of the practicum, it wasn't written as part of the project that the preceptor was actually wanting information from. And so it actually ended up being really helpful to her because she could see what was going on in the centers, and we actually ran across some reporting techniques that seemed lacking, because what we did was we analyzed accident and illness reports over a 3-month period, and one center in particular had no accident or illness reports reported within those 3 months, which is unusual for children under 3 years old. You know, there's always going to be something that that they run into or fall, they scratch, they bite. So reporting techniques is something that the preceptor is actually going to look more into after she's gotten this information from myself. So on the next slide is an example of the report that was given to my preceptor about as part of community needs assessment. The demographics was the most important, or one of the most important things that she was looking for to include in her report for grant renewal. If we look at this illustration, we can see the population of children birth to 3 years old that are located in Clark County, and then specifically in Las Vegas. The city of Las Vegas is the largest city in Clark County. There are an estimated 25,000 children birthed to 3 years old just in Las Vegas itself. So when we're looking at the size of this program, imagine how many people are on a wait list each year because they do a school year. Imagine how many people are on a wait list each year because they can't afford childcare. Now the problem right now is that Sunrise Children's Foundation is the only program or only company even that provides early Head Start services to low-income families. Now that will change within the coming year or so because there is another organization that will be offering early Head Start services. However, it's kind of bad news for Sunrise Children's Foundation because they're already having people on the wait list. They need to grow and expand themselves to allow more people to come to them as well. And so we'll get back to the demographics illustration here. Along with seeing how many children there are, it's broken down even further to see how many children are disabled and how many children are experiencing homelessness. Now, for this particular age group, finding homelessness was it was hard, and I actually couldn't find any information as to how many children were experiencing homelessness. There is a legit survey that was done years ago, and it showed that really the homeless population out here in Las Vegas they don't answer for children that are 0 to 3 years old. So it's still hard to see how many children are homeless. And even looking at the data management software within Sunrise Children's Foundation, it's still hard to keep track of homeless children because even if they are on a wait list, they don't keep in contact because they'll leave from a shelter, or they'll leave from wherever their sheltering place is at the moment, and they lose track of, or they lose contact with with Sunrise Children's Organization, just because they think that we are associated with the shelter that they're at. And so on the next slide, we'll talk more about disabled children. So on the next slide, we'll see the illustration for disabled children of Clark County. We talk about how many disabled children there are in the county, what types of disabilities are seen the most, and according to Sunrise Children's Foundation, speech is the the most common disability, which is kind of unfortunate because disabilities aren't really diagnosed until the age of 2 or after. And since Sunrise Children's Foundation only services children under 3, most of the time these people don't get the services until a little too late because they aren't given an appropriate amount of time to be in the program and have long-term use of the program. There are many resources available in the community for disabled children, and it's good if they are a part of the program because they will be referred to these resources, and also these resources, if they don't know of Sunrise Children's Foundation, would also refer to the foundation for early Head Start services. On the next slide is the example of how the map was the map was created as a guide for medical and dental resources within the centers or around the centers. Now, this is not all of the medical and dental resources that are available, but this one page here illustrates services that do see low-income families. They have sliding scale payments, they have payment arrangements, they basically won't send a patient away for payment. And this is what they were looking for, as to where to send people when they don't know where to go for health services. On the next slide, I'll begin talking about the outcomes of the practicum and what we think about the work that's been done here. And so we see that Clark County continues to grow. Sunrise Children's Foundation will no longer be the only provider of Head Start, early Head Start, which will help with making sure that the community needs are met. However, it does not help with availability of services with funding for the foundation. There's an abundance of health resources available to eligible children and families. However, Clark County is lacking in low-cost dental services. If you looked at that illustration of the resources that surround the centers, there's only one dental home within the 2 centers that I looked at that offer low-cost services, and a lot of the dental homes out here actually don't see children under the age of 5. And dental care is very important in children, especially because dental caries are very, very common in children, and it's good to keep an eye on that as early as possible. Accessibility to healthcare could not really be researched to the best of my abilities. I believe just because there were some barriers in the practicum experience, and I experienced that I was not able to engage the best that I could because I didn't have access to seeing things and seeing and hearing from the moms and dads of the families. Hearing specifically from them would have been really good about their problems or their issues with accessibility to healthcare. I could do online research, however, that I didn't have time to continue to do research online with the amount of time that I had left. And again, the analysis of accident and illness reports were very successful in uncovering some facts that the preceptor knows that she needs to continue to investigate into. Another outcome is the cost of child care inhibits parents from obtaining early development services. And then also families of disabled children are disadvantaged because, again, the diagnosis of any disability is usually not until after the age of 2 unless it's a physical disability. So with speech being the most common disability, families are a little disadvantaged in that viewpoint. So a few recommendations would be for any other intern coming in. The organization itself needs to reconsider allowing public health interns in, just because there are communication issues and individuals that are not quite aware of what a practicum experience or intern should be able to do. I had problems with even being able to participate in certain events, participate in home visits. That was supposed to be a thing that I was going to be able to do, and once started, I was not able to participate in home visits. I was not able to go into the centers to see what they looked like. I was not able to engage with families. I was not able to participate in promotion of health services. So a lot of it was self-led research that pretty much I was at a computer most of the day and just reported things that I found online. And even though the preceptor was appreciative of the work and accepted it, I do feel that the experience could have been much, much better. And so the community needs assessment, even though I got some really good information from online, I do know that it does need to be redesigned. So someone needs to actually get real data and hear from the community to know current data about their specific population, which is 0 to 3 years. So they need to speak more with the families that they are helping. They need to get out and do more surveys while they are recruiting. There's a lot more information that they need to get more detailed information on, specifically for ages birth 0 to 3 years. But other than that, I really enjoyed the practicum experience, and being able to see just what a difference these types of services make in the families of low-income families or disabled children in foster care. I hope that you have learned a little bit about these types of services, early Head Start programs, and what they do. And I thank you for your attention.